Hi, I'm Sal Henley and welcome back to the Slimming World Kitchen. Today we're going to cook one of the family favourites known as lasagna, and we're going to show you a few changes just to make it very slimming friendly. So what have we got? We've got 5% beef mince. Now 5% beef mince means it's 5% fat, and that is what you're looking for. So there's your first sort of hack. Then what we're going to do is get clean hands into the mince and actually just break it up. This is the best way to do it. A lot of people just chuck in the whole slab of mince, but this will save you time in the long run. So do that. And I've got this in a pan, as you can see, my favourite saute pan. It's lovely and deep. So you can do what stir fries in here, fry a steak if you wanted to, or big family dishes. That's why I love it so much. And also it's obviously non-stick. Make sure you get one with a lid as well. That's a good tip, because when you do stir fries, it's really good to have a lid so that it can partly steam as well. So I'm just going to give my hands a good wash. So that's the mince. That's quite happy doing its thing over here. I'm going to turn the heat up to 9. The higher you heat it up, the quicker it's going to cook, and also it's going to give you that lovely sort of brown crust to the meat, and that all adds flavour. Then what we're going to do is take some vegetables. In this dish we have 1 onion, I've just chopped that up, and then I've got 4 garlic cloves in here that have been minced, or you can put it through a garlic crusher if you want. And then vegetable wise, in the recipe asks for a red pepper and a courgette, but whatever you've got in the bottom of your fridge, things like carrots, leeks, a bit of butternut squash if you wanted, just cube it up, put it in. It's a great sort of dish to put odds and ends in. When you do your pepper, the quick way to do it is just take the top off, the bottom off. You've all seen this 1,000 times before if you've watched any of my videos. Then you cut down the side, put it on its side and put your heel of your hand there, and then you just take your knife and you run it along like so. And what happens is the whole core comes out. Just get rid of any seeds and a final bit of flesh there. And then you don't waste anything. In the top and bottom you can chop up. Now, if you don't like chopping, and a lot of people don't, if you've got a food processor, that is your friend. Just put any of the veg in and just put it on pulse, and it will quickly chop it up for you. Just don't go too heavy on it so it becomes very finely chopped. We want this to be quite chunky and yummy. So, there we go, that's the pepper done. We're just browning that mince now, so I'm going to get a wooden spoon in there and just move that around. Now you can see that's sort of still kept broken up, which is really handy. But if you're struggling to keep it from going lumpy, all you need to do is just get in your wooden spoon and just break it up a little bit. This is a great dish to start with. If you haven't really ever cooked before, there's some really great skills in here, like frying and chopping, and to show you how to make a really simple sauce. And once you've got those basics under your belt, we have lots of recipe ideas on our website. So we give that a stir, then we go to the courgette. I'm just going to top and tail it, and then I'm just going to run a knife down the centre. Always when you're cutting anything, try and get it on its flat side as soon as possible, because if you have it like that, it rocks, and that's when you're more likely to cut yourself. And then just run the knife down, like so. And again, I just want to keep it quite chunky, so I just chop it through. And if you're not comfortable using a knife, just find a knife that suits you. I tend to use a bigger knife, and I use it for everything, but if you prefer a smaller knife, go with that. Don't be put off by the size of my knife that you can't do it. Of course you can. Okay, so there we go. So give it a good stir. If there's any fat in there, just get a bit of kitchen towel and wipe it out, or get a lid on there and just drain it off into a bowl. Then add in any veg that you want. Now if you're vegetarian as well, you can make a lasagna. Don't think you're missing out. You can either use a meat alternative if you want the texture of meat, or you could use vegetables, like lovely Mediterranean vegetables like aubergine, mushrooms, peppers, onions, courgettes, anything like that. Even a bit of butternut squash would be delicious in there. And you just cook it in the same way with a bit of low-calorie cooking spray, and then you just soften it all down. Just going to add in the 4 cloves of garlic. Love garlic, but if you don't, just leave it out. That's absolutely fine. Then what you want to do is just lower the heat a bit, so probably about 6 or 7, and then you're just going to cook that out for about 6 to 8 minutes until everything's sort of cooked down and the mince is lovely and brown. That's all cooked down now. All the vegetables and the mince are looking delicious. What we're going to do is add a 400-gram can of chopped tomatoes, but if you've got the plum ones, don't worry, chuck those in and just break them up with your spoon. Then passata. If you don't know what passata is, it's just sieved tomatoes. So if you wanted, you could just whiz up another can of tomatoes in a food processor till it's smooth and put that in. It's a yummy concentrated flavour there. And then 2 teaspoons of dried herbs. But again, if you haven't got like mixed herbs in a pot, just throw in some dried oregano, maybe parsley, thyme, and make it up to 2 teaspoons. Don't go out and buy it especially, there's no point at all. Give that a good stir, we're going to give it a good season. I'm a bit of a pepper fiend, so I like a lot of that. And then a little bit of salt. And we're just going to cook that down for about, I don't know, 12 to 15 minutes, depending on how sort of rich and syrupy we want the sauce to be. And while that's cooking, we're going to make the sauce. It's really easy. You just take, I tend to use a jug as a tip there, because when you come to pour it over, rather than out of a bowl, it's easier to pour out of the jug. 2 eggs. I tend to use large eggs. And just crack those into the jug. This is quite similar to a sort of moussaka topping, but it's our sort of version of it. You know, that lovely dish that you have when you're in Greece with layered up mince and aubergines. So a lot of people would buy a white sauce, or you would make a white sauce at home using flour. But the reality is you can just use a 500-gram pot of fat-free yogurt if you wanted to. And that's what we're going to do. Add into the eggs. Make sure you get all of it out. Like so. Then what you want to do is the seasoning in this occasion, and often we do this in a white sauce, is a bit of nutmeg. Add as much or as little as you like. I love it, so I add lots. And then black pepper again, and a little bit of salt, and that is it. This adds a lovely creamy topping to the lasagna. It's a really healthy alternative to the white sauce. So go back to this, give it a stir every so often, and as you can see, it's already thickening out, but let's cook that for another sort of 10 minutes or so. It's now cooked down, and look at it, it's lovely and syrupy, and that's exactly what you want for a lasagna sauce. This is great if you want to have it as a sort of chili with rice. I just add a bit of ground cumin, ground coriander, and even some chili in there. Or if you want some fajitas, have a little family dinner together, you just put iceberg lettuce leaves onto the table with some crunchy spring onions and some coriander sprigs, and then a pot of this lovely mince, and then people can make up their own lettuce-leaved wrapped fajitas. That's quite tricky to say. Also, what about freezing? Let's use our freezers. Let's do batch cooking. Sometimes I cook 2 or 3 times the amount, and then I make up lasagnas and keep them in the freezer. So when you're on weekday nights, etc., you've got a quick meal that you've made from scratch. So how are we going to assemble it? It's just pretty easy. You take your pan, and we're just going to divide it into 3 roughly, and then take a spoon, and you're going to put 1/3 of the mince into the lasagna dish. Now this is a great thing to get kids involved. I really believe that, you know, try and get them interested in the food and assembling it or cooking it with you, and then they're more likely to eat it. So let's spread that around with the back of a spoon, and then this is my hack. Probably isn't really any truth in it, but I think there is. You take the lasagna sheets, I've just got dried ones here, and then I just dunk them in a little bit of water. I feel that if it's got its own little water supply, it's going to cook quicker, and I really do believe that. So try it, let me know. Put that in there, then another 1/3 in there, and you just keep layering it up until you've used up all your mince, and you finish off with a layer of lasagna sheets. And then we can top it off with the lovely sauce. Look at that. So once you put the final bit of lasagna in there, I tend to make sure I fill the gaps. So I'm just going to break part of that so it sort of fits the space. And then we take this lovely sauce, and that's why it's really handy to have this jug, you see? Very easy. Just pour it all over. Everyone always thinks lasagna takes a long time, but the reality is it really doesn't, because a lot of the time the hob's taking the strain, and to make that sauce took all of about 2 minutes. So just make sure it covers all the lasagna, just push the lasagna sheets down in it. And then I'm going to take freshly grated Parmesan and just put that over the top. And then we're going to pop this into a preheated oven. It's at 200 degrees, 180 fan, gas 6. And that is going to cook away until it's nice and golden. It depends on the shape and size of your dish to how long it will take, but I think anything from 30 to 45 minutes. After 40 minutes, let's have a look at the lasagna. Whoa. The great thing about this sauce is it goes lovely and crispy and brown, and that's what you're looking for. So I'm going to cut this into 4. It's a nice big portion. So just get a sharp knife. Oh, does that sound good? Now you can feel that the lasagna's cooked because my knife runs through it easily. And if you're probably thinking, how am I going to get it out of it? Just run your knife around the edges as well, like so. And then just hope, keep your fingers crossed. Oh, yum. Here we go. Big fish slice is perfect for this. And hopefully you can see all the lovely layers. And there you have a perfect lasagna. This is my favourite bit, actually, if I'm honest with you, the crispy bit. Yum.